Hello and welcome to episode 26 of Adventure Habits with me, David Overton, and Splash Maps. And today, as usual, we've got a really inspirational speaker for you here. We've just met this guy again. We're always bumping into each other at the best events. The latest one was at the Adventure Travel Show in London just last month. And I'd really love to introduce to you, dear listeners and watchers, Jamie Ramsay. Jamie, say hi.
Hello, and it's always lovely bumping into you. Everything adventurous I go to, you're always there. So you always know you're at the right place if you're there. So
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that we're not following you around. It's just that we happen to have the same taste in adventure, I think, probably. Yeah. Although you go at it a bit more strongly than I do, and we'll cover all of that. So just for people who haven't heard of Jamie before, Jamie actually did an amazing feat that when I tell you, and I'd encourage you to get a world map out when I tell you this, but Jamie actually ran across two continents. And that's not just like cutting out the easy bits of a continent. No, he ran from Vancouver all the way down to Buenos Aires. And when you piece all that together in your mind, people, that is going through North America, through Central America, through a huge chunk of South America. I mean, I've read his book. His book is brilliant. 17,000 kilometers, 17 pairs of running shoes. I think that's, you're getting more use out of your running shoes than most people, I reckon, Jamie. Um, so, Jamie, I loved reading this book. I kind of, looking back on it, it just makes me think, why would you go and do a thing like that? So I'm going to leave that as my first question to you.
yeah, the fact so why? So the start of the story is probably 2013. I've been working in the city for 12 years. Started off as a graduate trainee, and I kind of ended up in a job purely because I followed the herd there. I went to school, went to university, left university, and just followed everyone to London. Sent out all these letters trying to get jobs, and finally ended up with one job as a graduate trainee at a financial communications firm, and they paid me, and I got sucked in by monthly paychecks, yearly pay rises, bonuses, promotions, all that stuff. And I kind of just bumbled along in this life. And then after 12 years, noticed some things that were going on in my life, which probably would be seen as unhealthy. Um, on one hand, I was just going out and just like I think I was trying to find ways to feel and be happy with who I was. So I
Mm.
was doing like, got into the running world and started like 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons in safari parks, and then triathlons and swimming 10K. And I was just always trying to do something bigger to get a kind of rush and a sense of achievement. And then I like to say that I over rehydrated in the pub afterwards. Um,
That seemed
and
to be a big
these
part of the
both
story.
these things. Sorry.
That seemed to be a big part of the story. Yeah, yeah, and in your
Yeah,
pre adventure life.
yeah. I just think when you're sitting in a job you don't really enjoy, and you kind of you're around all this buzz, it's easy just to go to the pub, meet people, and numb the pain slightly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
let's make no bones about this, Andy. We're kind of, we can look at this as you having a life that you weren't happy with, but the life that you were living was absolutely, off the scale for a lot of people. So you're selling yourself short. You become a partner basically in
yeah,
this business. At a great place that you were living in London, and you had, obviously prospects were looking good, and an amazing social life, and you could go off an adventure pretty much when you chose, doing all those marathons
yeah.
and
And I did. I was the guy who would, when you were looking for holidays, I'd try and find the furthest place to go where I would not meet anyone else. So like 30-hour flights to far-flung parts of India, just
Yeah.
to be guaranteed I wouldn't bump into British people. And I'd always go off and do diving or running or something. But yeah, my life did look pretty good on paper. I even had a Mazda MX-5, so I was
Well,
really
there we
successful, you
go. Big league. Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So
But yeah, I think it's a difficult one because you always there's a part of you that feels guilty because you have all this stuff and then you essentially just kind of throw it in the bin and say I'm going to restart, and it's kind of a difficult one. I remember I had to tell my dad I was quitting my job,
mm,
and what had led to quitting the job is that I'd one night gone out and got slightly too drunk, woke up in the office at work, and then realized that maybe that's not normal behavior, and then looked around the kind of the office and was like, see all the other people who were above me. And I was 34 at the time, and I was like looking at these people who were coming past their 60s, and I was like, I can't do this for another 30 years. And then I was the realization that I had to do something, and I came up with this idea over a few months. And then I had to tell my dad, basically, yeah, dad, the expensive education you paid for me, all the support you give me, I'm going to go and do my own thing. And that was quite a, I had to really get that in my head before I could do it. So,
and get it in their heads as well. I mean, the impression I get is it wasn't a there's not a precipitating. I mean, obviously there was a precipitating event there, but this thing had been building up for some time. This kind of
mm.
unhappiness, and then the idea to just go do it and just talk us through that. I mean, how did you get started? Was there like finding lots of sponsors and support groups and things like that? Was there like a massive build up to it, or was it right booking a flight and heading out there and I know exactly what I'm going to do? Was what was the process for building up this adventure?
So I think there'd been warning signs that something had to change for a long time. And I'd gone off and been doing these adventures and feeling good about myself, then coming back to work and feeling bad. And then there was the one moment when it all got too much, and I was like, this has to stop, this has to change. And in that moment, I would then was like, if you're so unhappy now, find a moment when you were happy and let's work from that. And that was, there had been a race in Vietnam called the Jungle Marathon. I'd signed up, it was a 6 day ultra.
Hmm.
I had bought my flight, I'd raised money, I told everyone I was doing it, and then it got cancelled, and that got me down. But then I kind of, in the end, just thought, sod it, fly to Vietnam. You've already paid for your flight. Go and run 240 kilometers down the main road. So that's what I did. So when I was in this dark hole, I thought back to that moment, and I was like, right, how could we build from there? And I'd love to say it was a snowball of like, bang! I woke up the next day, I quit my job, and I jumped on an airplane. But it wasn't like that. So November, I had my wobble. Um, New Year's Eve, I was like, I'm gonna do something. It wasn't until coincidentally April Fool's Day that my boss actually pulled me aside and said, "I can see there's something wrong with you. Why, like, you're not focused, you're not here." And
Hmm.
then I explained to him that I was going to leave. And in the time between New Year's Eve and April Fool's Day, I had come up with the idea of running from Vancouver to Buenos Aires. So I told him I was doing that, and then I was tied in from for work until July, end of July. And I think I finished on the 28th of July, and then boarded a plane on the 11th of August and started running on the 14th or 15th of August. So
No.
when once things started happening, they moved quickly, but I didn't have a Scooby Doo what I was doing. I didn't have enough money to start. I didn't know anything about adventuring. I I managed to get a couple of sponsors to throw me some kit, but that was it. It was all self-funded. It was, and
Yeah.
it wasn't fully funded when I started.
No.
It was, in the technical term, as a shit show when I started. But yeah, um, that's kind of the fun way to start adventuring, I think.
And then once you're underway, amazing characters turned up to actually make it possible, and you had these kind of helps and hindrances from people that were going to help you along. And the one bit that I really remember is um first of all, when reading the book, you have to remind yourself that all these amazing stories that Jamie's telling, um they come after or they come during a day where he's running, most days at least a marathon distance. And so
Yeah.
it comes across as quite humble in the book that you're not actually mentioning what was the big core of the day. Oh, I just moved forward by 50 kilometers. It's the kind of people that you meet along the way. The retired couple that are on their first trip in their camper van and they encounter you and it changes their lives and things like that. And then that support knocks down the line. You find a place in a hotel that's run by a relative of theirs, and the whole thing pieces together as a kind of goodwill story of someone with uh, someone with a mission, who just things fall into place for. Um, and that that must come, Jamie, with an enormous amount of faith in yourself, I would have thought. And that made me think that the key thing that I'm thinking in this is, um, the drive to complete and finish things, to actually do the outlandish, to do things further than anyone else. Have you ever sat down to think where that comes from? When did it begin? And then I know it's manifested itself into something massive now. Um, but what do you think is at the core of it?
It's a difficult one. So first up, I don't do first. I don't do records. So trying to do something more than someone else or quicker than someone else, that or be the first to do something doesn't interest me at all. I all my ventures apart from one have been self-financed, and I do them because I want to do them, and that is the reason behind it. Um, and a lot of people come up and say, "Oh, you must have incredible strength to do these long journeys and keep going and overcoming all these obstacles." And but I think the reality really is that I struggle in the real world, and I find that the adventure is where I go for calm and order, and I can understand it. I can get my brain around it. It's, you wake up in the morning, you have to pack up and you go and you achieve something, and there will be challenges along the way. It's a little bit like a level of a computer game. You get to the end of the thing and then you sleep, and the next day you get up and you have a new challenge, and you never know what that challenge is going to be. And that kind of keeps going. I find normal life more challenging. Not bad, just more challenging. So I think for me, there's this constant desire and appetite to be out there, just pushing myself to keep myself engaged. And then the kind of the distances and the sizes of these things come from, I did this last time, so what can I do next time? And then just try and push it. And, once you've done one big adventure, you kind of go into the next one thing. You tell people what you're doing, and they're like, "That's impossible." And you're like, "Yeah, but I did this. So if I've done this and done this and this, and I combine those things together and put them into this, I can do that. It's easy. It just makes sense." And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just about trying to push those boundaries and achieve as much as I possibly can in the short amount of time that I probably have left as a 46-year-old adventurer.
Ah,
So
you.
my days are running out, I think.
Well, I think we both know John Blashford Snell, so we just know that's not true. You can be doing these things at the age of, well, probably not running the same sort of distances, but come
Yeah,
87.
one of the wonderful things about my adventure was the running the Americas adventure. Is I was running along next to one guy who was 69 doing a tour. I met a 70 something year old guy who was cycling across the USA
Oh
because
yeah,
he
yeah.
wanted to go and see his daughter. I met another 69-year-old guy from Germany who was cycling around the world, and he was just sleeping on the side of the road. But he was like, I met all these people. So it was like sitting there going, right, at that time, I was like, there's another 30, 40 years in this. I probably won't be able to run it, but if I've got two wheels, I'll be able to go to
Yeah.
keep going. So
And so, I mean, is that kind of scale of adventure something that's your kind of scale of adventure? Is that something you'd advise for us all to do? To give up the day job and just trust to uh, whatever it is, the god of adventure, and get out there.
it very much comes down to your personality. So
Mm.
I can see on the world of Instagram and YouTube and all this kind of stuff and adventure shows, there is quite a lot of like, well, quit your job and go and do this amazing thing and life will be great and wonderful. And life will be great and wonderful if you can work out how to make money out of that, and put money aside for your future. And you're okay being head of marketing, head of IT, head of logistics, head of sponsorship, head of, like, you have so many hats you have to spin, and
Yeah.
then you have to write books. And because for some reason, if you're an adventurer, you can write a book, and which is, books are impossible. They're so difficult. Writing the books are hard. Selling them is even harder. But there's a lot of worry and a lot of stress that comes with doing it full time. But I absolutely think that everyone would benefit from doing something big in their lifetime. And I think it's great that more and more companies are giving sabbaticals that allow people to go and do that with the safety net of a job to come back to. And it wasn't really a thing back when I did it. But
Yeah.
I did one of the ones I did recently, which was fast packing the Pyrenees, 700 kilometers, 50,000 meters of ascent. Did that in 18 days. So, if you had a month of work, you could go and do something like that. And I think it would change your perspective on a lot of things. It would also allow you to make the decision whether you want to do the big jump. Um, but, a lot of people like community. They like knowing when their money's coming in. They like knowing the safety of, and that's why millions of people live in towns, because that's normal.
Yeah. It's
I think,
society. Yeah.
um, but I do think that doing an expedition either alone or in a group, depending on what kind of person you are, is life changing, and I would thoroughly recommend it. And young people, they've got all these opportunities at school to do expeditions and the Duke of Edinburgh and all these things, and you can get the taste for it there. So it depends on who you are. And I might just be trying to say there's too many adventurers. Just hold back. There's
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
enough speaking gigs and books for a few of us. You know,
And I know you're not just trying to hold down the competition there, Jamie.
good.
There's sound advice, and I think that's really why we had to have you on Adventure Habits, because our belief at Splash Maps is really that you need that people who adventure are going to have a better life, basically, and that's the basic tenet. We try and give them the tools that help to make that to help reduce the excuses that mean you can go out on a rainy day and you don't have to get lost. You don't have to be nagged by your phone and GPS and all that sort of stuff. So we do our
and,
small
and
part.
also just having a proper map.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing that ruins my adventures is technology all the time. It runs out of batteries. You don't have connection. Having a real map keeps you focused on what you're actually doing. So yeah, Splash Map's great in that respect. It's a wonderful thing. But
Oh,
one of the things I was going to say about the jumping into the big adventures
yeah.
is you don't hear of many adventurers who say, God, my life was amazing. I loved my job. And, it was just everything was going well. So I quit it all and went and did this big adventure. It's all people who've gone, I had a crisis. I had something went wrong. And then I went off and did this adventure. And there's
Yeah.
very few who actually just organically become adventurers. So I find it bizarre that all these people are like, yeah, I would love to do what you do. It's like, yeah, I woke up on my office floor because I drank too much, and that's what prompted me to go and do this adventure. Like, it's not a normal path.
Yeah.
So I always kind of grapple with that in my brain of like,
But
just as
in essence,
adventurers.
it's going with gut feeling, really, isn't it? It's or
Yeah,
going with the signs that you see in life. If you can look at your life, because we all do that. I mean, because I've got 10 years on you, and there's like a bigger span I can look back on and think, oh, that's why I did that. And
yeah,
from my experience, it was a lot. I had a similar experience in that I was climbing in a good company, a good blue chip company, but I did feel that it just wasn't the route that I wanted to go either. So your story really resonates with me, and I left that job and joined the wonderful world of maps in my first job with Ordnance Survey, and that was that was at the beginning of my 30s. So not dissimilar to your inflection point as well. Well, look, Jamie,
yeah.
we've got you here. We've talked about your fabulous book, which people just simply have to buy, because actually you won't believe it until you've actually read it and you've done the miles with Jamie. And this book is a really great way of doing it. Even if he doesn't mention every day the number of kilometers he's done, you basically have in your mind to think, all of that happened at the end of a day where you've run 50 odd kilometers. So yeah, please go and get that. Running the Americas. It's available in all good bookstores. I guess they can get it from Amazon,
Yeah, I
and
think
we'll put a link.
it's Amazon is. If you're in the UK, you can get a signed copy direct from my website. That's the cheapest way to get it, or it's available Amazon globally.
Done. Yeah, okay, great, fantastic, and just for authenticity's sake, there we go. That's one of those signed ones right there. Okay, Jamie. So you know what this is all about. You've come in
Yeah.
here to give us a bit of wisdom. I've asked you for your 5 adventure habits, and yeah, fire away. What's habit number one?
Okay, so I'm kind of going with habit slash advicey kind of thing. Um, from what conversations I've
We can
had
live with
with
that.
people in the past, people asking me questions and all this kind of stuff. And the one thing that I would say to people is don't make excuses not to start. This is something I see time and time again of a lot of people going, "Oh, I was going to do this thing, but I couldn't do it because of money, or I couldn't do it because of this, and I couldn't." And there's always like it's easy to come up with the idea of an adventure, but it's
Mm,
more difficult to get started. And we always try and we doubt ourselves and we stop ourselves doing it because we don't think we're going to get to the end sometimes. And I think that what people, well, it's good to hear is you don't have to finish something for it to be an amazing adventure. You can do a fifth of it. You can do half of it. When I started running the Americas, the idea of running for at the time when I started, I thought it was going to be 600 days. That was really scary for me. So I broke it down into stages. I went, if I manage to quit my job and get to the start, at least that's a success. If I run the length of the US, that's a success.
mm,
If I run to Panama or if I run to the end, doesn't matter what I do. So I broke it down to make it manageable so I couldn't tell myself not to do it. And also, I did not have. Everyone thinks that you see these big adventures that they're all funded by sponsors or they have all this money to go and do these things. When I started running the Americas, I had enough money to get me to Panama, I think. I didn't have enough money to get to the end. And that could have been an excuse not to start by just saying, oh, I didn't have it funded.
mm.
But I still think if I run the USA and run to Panama, ran out of money and had to come home, I'd have still had this amazing experience. I'd have learned a lot about myself. So I just think, yeah, not making excuses not to do something
Yeah,
is a kind of advice routine, and I use it. It's like when I'm looking at something new, it's like okay, what are all the reasons I could tell myself not to do this and then tick them off and then when I get to the actual thing I'm
that's
going to get to the end because I've already sorted it in my mind
that.
so that
That's.
was
I mean, some of those things are, like you say, they're things that are yourself and in your control. You feel, like the finances and your ability to go and do this thing. But some of
it's also
those,
I think when you're doing these big adventures you have this weird feeling that the world is watching you, especially I guess these days with more Instagram and people are a lot worried about what people might think if they fail on
hmm,
these adventures. And I think the two things out of that is one, failing is not a bad thing. Failing is a really good thing. Failing shows that you're pushing yourself to a place where you're out of your comfort zone, and that is where you learn, is in that failing. But also, this kind of feeling that everyone's watching you. They're really not. Like the most of the world are just worrying about their own problems in their own lives, and they're not worrying if you're getting on with your adventure. So you got to just kind of take the audience away and just focus on your involvement in your adventure and if you fail that way, turn around, come back, fail that way, and you'll find a way through in the end. But yeah, don't
that I
get
mean, that
hopeful
comes
on that.
across quite strongly in the book as well. That although you're doing these things, you are raising awareness for men's suicide and things like that. There's a great piece as you go over the Golden Gate Bridge, I think, and you point out the statistics on that one geographical location in the world, and it's absolutely horrific. And
Mm.
I remember being very moved by that, and then thinking, well, what's it like to actually be on that bridge? And you take us to that place in the book, and what a um, what a what a what a weird and wonderful experience it is to actually see these places and draw people's attention to it.
You
Although,
know, that was one of the wonderful things about crossing the Sea of Cortez when I hitchhiked on that boat, and the captain and turned out to be a firefighter from Seattle who had rescued bodies from 9/11, ended up with PTSD and tried to take his own life. And then it was because I was raising money for Calm that he then looked after me and took me on this. And then, so in this chaos of running the Americas, I had this week of calm, pause, reflection with someone who was basically, you know, was the reason, one of the reasons why I was, one of the things that helped me go each day was thinking I might be able to help someone. So to meet someone like that was a really special moment for me.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's it. The interactions that you have along the way and the help that that has with people's lives is quite something. But I mean, it's a great first one, and it covered a lot of ground actually, and there's it touches on a lot of stuff as well. We had Mitch Hutchcraft on here a few weeks ago, and he was all about breaking things down. He was saying he was breaking things down by the stroke. The worst thing for him was swimming the channel, out of the whole of his adventure. And it was absolutely counting those strokes as you didn't know if you were heading in or heading back or heading sideways or left or whatever. Um, Breaking things down is a common thing in an adventure habit. So people listen. You know, this is the stuff that's going to help you adventure more frequently. So don't make excuses not to start, whether those excuses come from yourself and your own self-belief or whether it's externally, I guess, you know, trying to fit in with other people's expectations or whatever. That just doesn't matter. Do it. I guess there's a kind of message here that's do it for yourself, really.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
Great.
You want number two?
I
Number
do.
two, this is a habit or a routine. Is get on top of your kit. Like I think a lot of people, I watch their kind of doing adventures, and they have kit failures, they have bad kit choices, they don't understand their kit. And that is a really simple thing you can do before you go on an adventure, which will eliminate the chances of the adventure falling apart. And it's something that, I have very lucky to have good kit. But I go through my kit all the time, even when I'm not on adventures. I'll go out and open the boxes and I'll go through what I've got. I'll make sure it's all in good working order. I'll work out how it works. I'll put them in different boxes. So if I'm going before any adventure, what I do is get a big plastic box and leave it empty. And then for like a month or two before, I'll pick up things and go, I'm going to take that on my adventure, and I put it in the box. And then I keep going through. And then I go back to, and then one day I'll pick up the box and I'll go through the box and like, oh, that's a wrong choice. And I'll go through, and it's that understanding the kit. And I make lots of kit lists and I put them on my website, but people think I'm just doing that to sell kit and all this. I use my own kit lists
Mhm.
all the
Right.
time. So
Yeah.
I will go and, if I'm going to go on a cycle tour, a bike packing trip or something, I'll go and look. I think the last one was main one was cycling across the USA. So I'll go back and look at my USA one. And after the trips, I go through and change it and make notes about why the equipment didn't work or what I would change it to. So then I go on the next trip, I have less chance of things going wrong because I've spent the time
Benefit of hindsight.
doing that.
Yeah.
So that is, I just think and everyone talks about it, but it's such a simple thing you can do. It's a fun thing to do if you are geeky and like it. But yeah, it's something you can ask advice on. You can reach out to people. I get lots of people reaching out to me and asking me to look at lists or suggest kit. It's that's a passion. So yeah,
Yeah.
get on top of your kit.
Okay, okay. And any favorite kit things at the moment? I mean, I mentioned the 17 pairs of shoes you got, so each one of those should have lasted about 1,000 kilometers. But I'm guessing it wasn't quite that way because sometimes you just didn't have the choice of footwear as you were running, right?
No, it was very hard finding shoes in the desert. Um, what was I going to say? Favorite kits at the moment. I'm really big on sleeping bags and tents and stuff. But tents are on my thing I'm geeking out on at the most. because everyone's kind of like using bivy bags is more like real, and but I'm like at this time of year especially, you spend more time in your sleeping bag than you do actually doing the adventure. So I always take a tent, and then it's trying to get how small can you get the tent, how lightweight can you get the tent.
Mm,
So I've got various different tent games going on at the moment. Mapping is hugely important. I'm not just saying that because of you, but no, it is. But you have to make
yes.
sure that you have your maps downloaded. You know what you're going to do if there's no connection. You need to know, like, if you lost everything, how would you manage to carry on going? Especially some of the places I've been, like wilderness hiking across Utah, that was gnarly. Definitely would suggest making sure you got navigation, tracking, and somewhere to sleep, and you know
Yeah.
you can eat leaves and stuff. But if you have that all sorted, that's pretty good.
Fantastic. Hopefully, I mean, did have you had a go at eating leaves and stuff?
I've
It's
eaten some weird things on my trips. Mostly, actually, the weird stuff comes from water. I remember once on the Hijik Trail again, I run out of water and I found a puddle with dead flies on the top. I picked off all the dead flies, then scooped with a spoon the clean water from the puddle into a thing, and then boiled it up to have supplies of water. And then, yeah, had the best cup of coffee ever from that. It was delicious. I don't know if it just took so long to make the cup of coffee that it tasted so good, but yeah,
yeah.
that was
I
one.
wonder if water to go can help with that with their filter thing. But I guess when the
So
water's
I'm
that
trying to
that.
fit one actually right at the moment.
Oh, you are right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
So
they're great. Um, okay, good. So we've got two habits now. Get on top of your kit, and the first one was don't make excuses not to start. What's habit number three, Jamie?
pin down your routine. This
Okay.
is something I'm big on. I have routines when I'm doing my adventures. So in the morning, when I wake up, I don't get out of my tent until I've packed everything in the tent. And then when I take everything out of the tent, I then start boiling water. While the water is boiling, I take my tent down.
Yeah.
By the time the water is boiled, the tent is down, and then that's all packed. Then I have my food, and then I go. When I get to the end of the day, I it doesn't matter if I run a marathon or anything. The first thing I do is set up my tent. I don't sit down. I don't look at the view. I don't do anything. It's because as soon as you stop, it's harder to start again. So you just keep that energy going. You set up your tent. You blow up your mat. You put your sleeping bag in. You get your pillow ready, and then you deal with having a relaxing time. So, but it's all about if the more routines you have, and the more you refine and refine and refine, the more efficient they become. The more efficient they become, the easier your adventure becomes, and the more time you have to enjoy other parts of the adventure. If you're just like winging it all the time, it just becomes tiring, draining. So yeah, lock down your routine.
Okay, and that's even in advance of heading out, or is it kind of like day one? Okay, I'm going to have to do this thing. I need to get the tent up and blah blah blah, or do you have that?
Luckily, I think just doing like mini adventures before you do a big adventure, you lock down that routine in the mini adventure,
Uh,
and then you can refine it as you need to. But
yeah,
yeah,
I think that's another good habit
um,
coming in there. Build up with the small adventures before you do something that's super big. Um,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah, and definitely, I do that all the time. Even like setting up tents in the garden just to make sure it's all fine. Like, and you know, it's that routine of packing as well. So like in my bag, I'll have different colored dry bags with not just to keep stuff dry, but I'll have clothes in one, food in one, electrics in one. So every time I'm going to do something in my bag, I can just take out the bag I need and everything's ready in it. So just it's all about saving time. It's all about yeah, just making sure that every single option or opportunity of failure is there, eliminate it by being
Yeah.
prepared and having it practiced. So
God, you sound military. It's
yeah, no military background here.
no military background there, but yeah, you've learnt the
No,
hard way, I'm guessing.
yeah, it is. It's just every time you make a mistake, make sure you learn from it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Either
I've had
winning or learning.
times in the when I've done things the wrong way or I've set up things in the wrong place and knocked over the only water I had and like and just doing stupid things and like setting up a tent in the wrong place. You only flood your tent once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that.
Okay.
Um,
Great.
so the
Okay. So
next
that's
one,
pinning down the routine and
pin down the routine.
okay.
The
And
next one is make sure you know your why. And this is something I bring up because it's something have to really focus on sometimes. And it's something that maybe I should have spent more time over the last decade understanding. Um, because I want to is a really good reason to do something. But sometimes it's a good idea to have a bit more of a why you're doing it. What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to do afterwards? Like I spent a lot of time in my early adventuring just doing an adventure, getting to the end and moving on to the next adventure. And like one year I did 5 adventures back to back, and these are like climbing Aconcagua, cycling across Australia, running across Iceland, hiking across Utah, and it was just back to back, back to back. When maybe I should have had more of a kind of a thought process behind it. So there is adventuring just for holidays, but if you want to do it on a more kind of professional basis or long term, kind of slightly paying kind of
yeah,
thing, then make sure what I should have done is like planned adventure, written a book, created a film, planned an adventure, written a book. And I should have had that kind of, what did I want to be in 5 years? Where did I want to be in 10 years? And that might have given me, like on an adventure, you have your roadmap. Um, for kind of being an adventurer, you need to have that roadmap as well. So
yeah.
know your why.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. The difference between, you having an adventure and being an adventurer and having
Yeah,
that as your lifestyle choice. And indeed, I mean, anyone who it is like running a small business in a way, or any business, in that if you try and do everything in the one year, that just basically means that you're not going to be able to do the other stuff. And it's the other
yeah,
stuff that actually is actually going to add the value to life sometimes.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So we can all learn from that. So make sure you know your why, and we're up to your fifth and final adventure habit, Jamie. What's it going to be?
This is just this is a common sense one, but I always say that leave the places you're going better than you find them. Um, I really grates me when I watch some of these like Iceland's the one that really bugs me when people go and do an adventure in Iceland and then like graffiti the soil like we were here or like write a date and that's environmental graffiti. It's not cool. You go to places you see fires that have been used and they've just been left and the fire may be a lovely thing when you're on a camping trip but it kills all the earth underneath. People laugh at me because I take two Ziploc bags, one for clean loo roll, one for dirty loo roll, and like people are like, why don't you just burn it or why don't you bury it? It's like because it leaves behind a trace. And why is loo roll white? It's because it's bleached, and then you're putting that bleach into the soil. I always take a good rubbish bag, and if I see other people's rubbish, pick it up. And if you're eating bananas, look around. Do you see any banana trees? No, take the peel away with you. And people like apple cores and visually for other people going to look at these places, you may think, oh yeah, I'm just going to chuck this apple. It's natural. Yeah, it's not nice for other people to look at. So I always think if you're going out into nature, try and leave it exactly like you found it, or improve it in some way by removing the stuff that other people have left irresponsibly. So that's just a
Wow.
I've done a few like days out with people called Trash Free Trails, and it's just amazing what they do. And they actually go and do these litter picks and then analyze what they find. So and it really opens your eyes to like, wow, you know, this stuff it really is like horrific for nature. It's horrific for tourism. It's just I think the more people do it, the more other people think it's okay to do it. So I think if we can just be more responsible
Yeah.
for our surroundings when we're out adventuring.
I mean, when you go on these trips, like the Iceland trip, for example, I mean the graffiti and the leaving of banana skins and things like that, and fire. I mean, these those are things that you'd rather people didn't do, but I mean, there are people that do way worse, isn't there? They'll leave their tents in position, and
Oh,
it's all kind
yeah,
of um, where's that going to end up? It's just going to be a layer in the
Yeah.
in the ground in centuries to come. Um, it's yeah. So it's yeah. So that's a powerful point to end the last one on, leaving things better than they were.
Yeah.
I mean, if we all did that, surely the planet would be in a lot better condition. Um,
Yeah, and it doesn't take much, especially if you're on like a training adventure. Like if you're doing a short one, take a bag with you and pick up some litter
I think I
and
should
make sure
do
you
that
take
more
everything home with you. And you can do a lot of prep before you leave on adventures, like tea bags. You can take them out of the packaging, and you can just like go through all your food and remove as much of the packaging as possible before you go on the adventure. And then there's just less chance of. And I know a lot of littering is accidental; it falls out of pockets and that kind of stuff. But if
Yeah.
you remove all the packaging before you go, then you're limiting the chances of those things happening. So I think
Yeah,
that's
plus
quite a
the
useful
added
one.
benefit that you're lightweighting as well, aren't you? Really, or
There we
taking
are.
less
Yeah,
volume, and yeah,
yeah,
that all makes a lot more sense. Well, look, we've got 5 brilliant adventure habits from you. From don't make excuses not to start, and that could be like doubting yourself, or actually physically, you know that you haven't got the stuff to go with you. Get started on it, but make sure you're on top of your kit list. And it sounds like you're a real kit nerd, Jamie, so we should take this offline,
yeah,
and I can ask you about my Camino trips coming up and things like that. And then pin down that routine. That one resonates with me. I am prone to procrastination. I think anyone who knows
yeah.
me will know that, and that leads to all kinds of things happening. More routines, more habits that you have, the less time there is to flip
Mm,
and flap about stuff.
yeah,
Then there's make sure you know your why, and I think that's something that you pin down very nicely. But looking back on it, you can actually see. I think looking back on adventures, you can see more of the why after you've finished, perhaps. Um,
yeah. It also helps you if you know why you're there. When it gets hard, it's easier to push on. If you're like, on this adventure, I really want to re- see this view, or I want to test this. And you're like, well, I have to get there. So it helps you get there if you know there's an objective at the end of it, rather than just going for a really long hike. So
yeah, yeah. That's good. That's great. And that could be a feeling, and that feeling could be a
yeah,
feeling of achievement,
yeah,
um, or it could be a tick list, could be a bucket list item for you as well. So there's so many things that could be your why. And then leave places better than you find them. So guys, when you're out there, if you're eating an apple or something like that, bag it up, take it home. And same goes, for well, I mean, dog walkers have been trained to put things in bags and then put those into bins. That's quite good, but
yeah.
I,
Some of them.
yeah, I,
Some of them are good at putting them in bags and then just leaving them on the side. Like
I,
the dog poo's not enough. Let's put it in a plastic bag and leave it. You're like,
yeah.
okay,
At least the dog poo's got
how
a
can I
chance
make
of
this dog
degrading
poo
over time.
worse?
Yeah,
How can
yeah.
I make it worse?
My
Well, I'm
my
glad we managed to get through those five because my battery's saying I've got 8% battery left. So,
Okay, well, look, we better leave it there in that case. Jamie, you've been fantastic. It's a
it's
great
been so
pleasure to
fun.
meet you. And well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's been fantastic having you here. I think people can learn so much from you, and they just need to go out and buy your first book, right? He
First book,
says,
yes, that I'm thinking of the second book at the moment.
yeah, yeah. Well, you've done a great job with that one. I think perfectionism must be a thing in your life as well, which you won't admit to, as no perfectionist does. So, I think it's a great book, and it got me there, and I felt exhausted, but not as exhausted as you at the end of the whole thing. So,
Love that the
Jamie,
poster behind me just there says,
yeah.
I never finish anything.
Well, that's the first sign of a perfectionist, isn't it?
Well, we've just moved into this house. That's why it's so messy.
It looks great, and I hope life is going well for you there as well. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully at the Armchair Adventure Festival this year. Maybe pushing
Yeah,
around
I'll
something
be
other
there
than all your
either
kit in a three
talking
wheeler.
or as a customer.
Right. Okay. Great.
It's the best
Well,
festival. Love it. I love the Armchair Festival.
It's a
So
fantastic event to go to,
yeah,
and if you want to meet people like Jamie and a lot of the people you meet on this show, then please do come to the Armchair Adventure Festival, which is in July this year. Okay, Jamie, thank you so much for your time, and
thank you,
carry on adventuring. We'll be following you.
thank you very much. Have a
Bye bye.
good adventures.